Back with chapter 5. Esther prepares the banquet. On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace in front of the king's quarters, while the king was sitting on his royal throne inside the throne room opposite the entrance to the palace. And when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won a favor in his sight, and he held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. And Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. And the king said to her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given you, even to the half of my kingdom." And Esther said, "If it please the king, let the king and Haman come today to a feast that I have prepared for the king." And the king said, "Bring Haman quickly, so that we may do as Esther has asked." So the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared, and as they were drinking wine for the feast, the king said to Esther, "What is your wish? It shall be granted. It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even to the half of my kingdom it shall be fulfilled." And Esther answered, "My wish and my request is that if I have found favor in the sight of the king, if it pleases the king to grant my wish and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come to the feast that I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said." Haman plans to hang Mordecai. And Haman went out that day joyful and glad of heart, pretty much prideful, because he thinks he's about to kill all the Jews, in which actually in the end he's the one who ends up dying. So God will always protect his children, man, every time. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he neither arose nor trembled before him, he was filled with wrath against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home, and he sent and brought his friends and his wife Zeresh. And Haman recounted to them the splendor of his riches, the number of his sons, and all the promotions with which the king has honored him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and the servants of the king. Then Haman said, "Even Queen Esther let no one but me come with the king to the feast she prepared, and tomorrow also I am invited by her together with the king. Yet all this is worth nothing to me, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate." Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, "Let a gallows 50 cubits high be made, and in the morning tell the king to have Mordecai hang upon it. Then go joyfully with the king to the feast." This idea pleased Haman, and he had to get the gallows made. So chapter 5, Esther prepares the banquet. Basically, she prepares the banquet to, like I said, basically to tell the king what Haman is plotting. And then of course Haman goes back to his wife and tells him what Mordecai was doing at the king's gate, and Haman's wife says, "Well, why don't you just hang him there?" So, but that's chapter 5. Well, like I said later on, of course, it's Haman that is hanged, not Mordecai. So Haman kind of dug his own grave in a way, if you think about it. So chapter 5, Esther prepares a banquet, and then Haman plans to hang Mordecai. Go right up to chapter 6.